In your time?
I know there's 20. You got Camilla,
So
was
today I got
that
an
Trish
email from the
online?
parents.
So you got 3 online.
No, just their
3,
name.
4, 5,
and they
6,
didn't refer
7,
to their
8,
titles.
9. You got
Unless they could tell,
9
I'm
board
like,
members.
I don't know who we're talking about
They
here.
don't, they.
All right, you're all good, boss. You're all live. They can hear you guys. We're good to go.
You're
I
good to
don't know what I
go.
did with
So,
myself. All right,
You want me to stop?
no. All right. Okay, at this time, the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meetings of public bodies, at which time any business affecting their interest is discussed and acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of this Act and Board of Education Policy 0162, the Board of Education of the Borough of Bound Brook has caused notice of this meeting to be posted in the board office and at the Bound Brook High School and mailed or faxed to the Courier News, Bound Brook Borough Clerk, South Bound Brook Board of Education, and any person who has requested individual notice and paid the required fee. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Could you ask them if they need a translator? They're good? Okay.
roll call, Mike.
Boss,
Here.
Ms. Munson,
She is not here. She emailed us early today. She got a commitment.
Ms. Martinez,
Ms. Martinez is here. She's online.
Ms. Morris,
Here.
Ms. Stevens,
Ms. Stevens is here. She is also online.
Ms. Rosamano,
Ms. Rosamano is also here online.
Mr. Thomaselli. Here. Mr. Valerier,
Here.
Mr. Zupko. Here. And Ms. Fowler.
Here.
That's one out.
Real quick, just a fast note, Tom, For some reason, I cannot hear audio from the members of the board on my computer, so I'm not sure what's up. So we can get that fixed real quick. I'm all the way up. I'm at 100. At 100. Got it. Thank you.
Now they should be able to talk. I need them to start talking.
Camilla, just say something real quick.
That's-
Yeah, I still can't hear.
Conversation, try one more time.
Try one more time, Camilla.
I love technology. I say that to my
Try it one
students
more
all the
time,
time.
Mel.
Don't you love technology? Stinky me. It's a love-hate relationship with technology.
That it is. It's a Joe's on.
Oh, yeah.
I'm in damn fight yet.
Now try it. Third time's the charm.
Is it gonna work?
Yeah.
Yes, there we go. All right.
Yay, third time's the charm, thanks, Tom. I know, I.
Zoom versus
feel this
Google
pain.
Meets, it's a
I
little
feel the
different for
pain
me off the top of my head.
Every day in my kitchen. I feel the pain.
Okay, President's report?
Yeah, I just wanted, I know for the Student of the Month students, I wanted to congratulate them for their hard work in earning Student of the Month. I did want to thank any staff or faculty members that have received the GEM Awards. We certainly appreciate all the hard work and dedication to the students and community of Bound Brook. I am glad to see that sports and clubs are still continuing. I wanted to give a thank you to Stacy Young for the donation of the books that she gave to the 7th through 12th grade. And then a shout out to Soul for 150 pairs of sneakers. That's awesome as well. And I also continue to thank those people that are collecting and distributing food, not only to our students, but to the community at large. So thank you for your continued service. That's it.
All right. Well, on that note, before I turn it over to the principals, I'd like to make mention that Costco here in Bridgewater donated a huge sum of food for us for our food bank for this week. So I'd like to thank Costco and Mrs. Ryan and Mrs. Fisher for coordinating that and taking care of that. Obviously, this weekend, we had some COVID issues in the district. I'd like to especially thank all the district nurses for going above and beyond this weekend, getting on the phone, doing the contact tracing. It was very, very appreciated that the nurses took some time this weekend to help us out with the contact tracing. They went well above and beyond to help us out. Obviously, Taryn Snell, again, all weekend long on the phone with me, making sure we got everything done appropriately in the right way, along with the principals. So we had a busy weekend trying to do all the contact tracing that we had to do this past weekend. And I just wanted to thank all of them, especially for going above and beyond this weekend. And then, of course, I did send an email out to the staff this week, or today actually, letting them know that they performed magnificently. It's been almost a year since we went out on this pandemic. So, with all the different things that we've had to do, being completely virtual to hybrid and back and forth, they've handled everything very, very well and gracefully throughout this time. So I wanted to thank them. I also gave them a little bit of information, which I will now share with the board. We got a memo on Friday about the ESSER 2 funds, which is the second set of care funds. We are slated to get about $2.5 million in the second round of care funds, which is a good amount of money for us in the district. Additionally, some insider information that I received late today. You can anticipate some very, very good news tomorrow from the governor in terms of state aid for Bound Brook. So from what I understand, he is going to fully fund S2 at year 4 level, which is more than what we anticipated or could have hoped for. So if that does happen, again, we are in pretty good shape. So just wanted to put that out there. And then obviously, there are 2 grants that they put out there. One is for learning loss and one is for mental health, and we will be applying for both of those grants for the district, for those funds. So hopefully we can receive some more money to help our kids with learning loss and mental health needs. So with that, now we're going to turn it over to our principals. We're going to start with Lamont Annex and Dr. S for Students of the Month.
Hi, good evening. February Student of the Month recipients are Jonathan Bao and Rafael Gonzalez. Congratulations.
Is Raphael?
And then we're going to swing over to Mrs. Clark over at Lafayette School.
Do we have anything for that?
Hello, Lafayette Students of the Month for February. I'm supposed to say September. February, for first grade, we have Jason Aguirre Bravo, and for second grade, we have Luca Kovacevic. Congratulations.
What grade are you in? Fourth. So we do have a 4th grade student from Smalley here in the audience. So we're going to go over to Mr. Edwards now to do his Students of the Month.
Good evening, everyone. Our Students of the Month for Smalley School for February are Carter Arias, Ethan Ashaw, Dylan Delgal Alice, and Jaspreet Kumar, who's in the audience. Congratulations.
We don't have, I guess we don't have.
My own child didn't bother to show up.
Mr. Edwards, you get that certificate tomorrow when you get to school. All right, we're going to move over to community school and Mr. Santa Serma.
Hello, everyone. Community Middle School is proud to recognize for its Students of the Month, Dayanara, Calderon Amaya, and Samantha Wright. Congratulations.
And Mr. Smith for Boundbrook High School.
Good evening. I'd like to congratulate the following recipients for the Boundbrook High School Crusader Citizen of the Month Award. Jacqueline Mancia Hernandez, Queen Marcillo Villa Gomez, Cameron Summers, and Juliana Zaccardi. Congratulations.
And now we're going to go to our GEM Awards for the month. We'll start with Lamont Annex and Dr. S.
Congratulations to Mr. Moran, February's GEM recipient. Mr. Moran is our guidance counselor and is a true gem for our school. He's always available to the students, families, and staff. He goes above and beyond to make everyone feel welcome. Each month, he hosts a virtual all-school meeting that all of our students can participate in. He provides teachers with strategies and resources for their classroom. He even goes out of his way to assist during arrivals and dismissals, which I greatly appreciate. So congratulations again, Mr. Moran.
And for Lafayette School, Mrs. Clark.
Lafayette's gem for the month of February is Heather Woods. As educators, I think we can always reflect on trying our hardest to reach all the students, even some of the challenging ones. And it does sometimes become exhausting during a regular year, and even more so during challenging times like this. Heather Woods has remained calm and kind, and really has just gone above and beyond for her students, implementing different strategies, and I appreciate all that she has done. So thank you, Heather, for what you do for your students.
And we're going to go to Mr. Edwards for Smalley School.
Evening again. Miss Bell is one of our 6th grade teachers at Smalley School, a professional educator who continues to help her students, colleagues, and community. Miss Bell is a very caring, sincere, patient, and a team player. Day in and day out, she strives to help her students not just academically, but she also tries to bring out their social and emotional personalities in the classroom. She's part of a hardworking and dedicated 6th grade team. She is continuing to grow as an educator, having attended professional development seminars in the summer. Currently, she is enrolled obtaining her master's degree. This month's GEM Award is presented to Miss Jamie Bell. Congratulations.
Now we'll move over to Community Middle School and Mr. Santa Serma.
Hello, everyone. Once again, I'd The community middle school was proud to recognize Mr. Lay as its GEM Award recipient for the month of February. When we think back over this past month, my most vivid memory is snow and more snow. So tonight's weather is just another example of how we're all kind of hoping for an early spring. About 1 month ago, when the weather turned, temperatures dropped into the teens. And unlike most years, when we would typically bring our students into the gymnasium for arrival until the arrival bell rang, this year we're kind of guided by COVID protocols and temperature checks and so forth. So students have to stay outside, and we're lined up, and we process them as quickly as we can. But on January 28th, Mr. Lay was at a store, and he noticed that the store was selling a large quantity of mittens and hats. The coldest day of the year was coming that very next morning. Temperatures dropped pretty quickly. Mr. Lay decided at that moment to buy over 100 pairs of mittens and hats for the kids at CMS. The next morning, Mr. Lay solicited the help of Mrs. Credatis, Mrs. Darwin, Mr. Fisher, and Mrs. Danubio. And they began handing out these mittens and hats to all the kids who were standing in line at arrival. It wasn't a fact whether that many students, if they did or did not own, hats and gloves, but for anyone who is a parent of a middle school student, they know that getting your child to wear a hat, gloves, and a coat could be a struggle. Our kids oftentimes will show up just with a sweatshirt. But that morning, I can assure you, there were few students that refused this gift from Mr. Lay. It's this level of caring that prompted teachers at the community middle school last year to nominate Mr. Lay as the 2019-2020 Teacher of the Year. So on behalf of all of our students, our parents, our staff, I'd like to thank Mr. Lay for his generosity, but more importantly, for his constant dedication and his sincere love for being a teacher and for going the extra mile for our students. Thank you, Mr. Lay.
And now we'll move on over to Downbrook High School and Mr. Smith.
Hello again. We would like to congratulate Ms. Courtney Nemirovsky for being named the Downbrook High School GEM Award. Ms. Nemo, as the kids call her, is a kind, compassionate, and persevering teacher. Despite the challenging circumstances of this year, she has built a warm classroom environment for both virtual and in-person students. Ms. Nemo is not only able to successfully engage students in academic conversations, but she also maintains strong personal connections with her students. Her creativity and empathy are the mark of an exemplary professional. Beyond her effective classroom practices, Ms. Nemo is a valuable member of the BBHS staff. She contributes to a supportive environment by taking newer teachers under her wing. She has impacted them as well as student teachers greatly as they navigate their early teaching years. She provides sound expertise and advice from her own experience. Furthermore, Ms. Nemo goes above and beyond for her students. Not only does she care about her students' grades and academic success, she also cares deeply about their mental, emotional, and physical well-being. Students are constantly talking about how much they love her because she treats them as people, not just students. And she is always looking out and is always there for them. In times like these, teachers like Ms. Nemirovsky are essential to a school building. She truly wants to see all teachers and students succeed, and we are lucky to have her as part of our team. For all of these reasons, we congratulate Ms. Nemo for being named the GEM for the month of February for Downbrook High School. Congratulations.
And the GEM Award for the district is going to go out to Mike Fittipaldi this month. This past weekend, we had some server issues, and Mike, along with the rest of the technology team, spent the entire weekend here, working very, very hard, long hours, to make sure that the district continued to run and operate without fail. And Mike, who's a former student here, he graduated while I was principal here, never really left. He stayed here, he continues to work here. He's a college graduate. He works really hard for us, and he goes well above and beyond all the time, anytime we ask him to. He's more than deserving of this award. And again, Mike Fittipaldi is the district GEM Award recipient for the month of February. Thanks, Mike. All right, so at this point, I'll do that. At this point in time, Tony, are you ready for your report? I'm going to turn it over to Tony Mormile, who is going to do our SSDS HIV presentation for the reporting period number 1. Go ahead, Tony, it's all yours.
How was the presentation?
Do you want to make him the presenter so he could share a screen?
Yeah, I guess we can stop there.
I can see.
I can't share.
Is it?
Yeah, I can. I'm going to allow you to share it. Hold on.
Right on my tab. Okay, got it.
It's 11.
Okay, now I can share it.
You got it?
Okay.
Go ahead.
Good eyes, Charlie. What? Good eyes.
You're all set. Yes.
All right. Okay, so the pandemic had a significant impact on the district's HIV and violence numbers for the first reporting period, September through December. In harassment, intimidation, and bullying, the numbers were decreased significantly. You see the investigations are separate district-wide confirmed. They are 2, that's down a great deal from the first period from last year. And I know from talking to my guidance director colleagues from other county schools that this is not just the case at Bambrook, it is the case countywide and statewide. Bambrook High School, we had 3 HIV investigations and 1 confirmed case of HIV. At the middle school, it was 2 investigations and just 0 confirmed, no confirmed cases. Smalley, 2 investigations and just 1 confirmed case. And then 0 investigations and confirmed cases at both Lafayette and that was HIV, harassment, intimidation, and bullying. Now on to violence and vandalism. The pandemic and the remote learning and the hybrid learning also had a big impact on violence and vandalism district-wide. We have no incidents to report from a high school. The only school that we had incidents to report were at community middle school. We had 2 cases of a student leaving the school building 2 different times. And no other incidents of violence and vandalism to report district-wide. Okay, that's it for my presentation.
All right. Does anybody have any questions for Mr.
No,
Mormile?
that's,
No.
that is the bare bones we've ever seen.
Thank you, Tony. Can you share your screen back to me?
Good job, Tony. You're doing a great job.
Great.
Keep it up.
Okay, that is it for my report on committee meetings. We had a policy meeting tonight. We went through some policy updates that will be on our next agenda. I would say the biggest change on the policies is the abolishment of the 4 current FMLA policies we have, and they're kind of being condensed into 1 coherent FMLA policy. So I would say that's the biggest change forthcoming in the policies. Does anybody else want to chime in on that from policy or? Okay. With that, we are open to the public for agenda items only. I can see that.
I can see that nothing's changed over the years.
Well, I think we did have, there were definitely people out there.
It was?
Oh, yeah.
You're on to shut this so they can't read the comments in advance, boss?
Sure. Okay, there we go. All right, so we have nothing online for agenda items and nobody here. So you are up to approval of minutes.
All right, I need a motion to approve the minutes from 2/28/2021. Motion.
Too late.
Mr. Thomaselli, second. Does anyone have any questions or comments? Does anyone need to abstain? Were we all here?
I need to abstain.
All right,
Jamel.
Mrs. Stevens needs to abstain. Can I get a roll call?
Mr. Ball,
Yes.
Ms. Martinez,
Yes.
Ms. Morris,
Yes.
I have Ms. Stevens as abstained, Ms. Lozano,
Yes.
Mr. Thomaselli,
Yes.
Mr. Badalaire,
Yes.
Mr. Zupko.
Yes.
And Ms. DeFazio.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, personnel resolutions, resolve the superintendent recommends for approval the resolutions as outlined in personnel resolutions under district and high school 6.2 through 6.4. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
Mr. Thomaselli, second.
Second.
Mr. Ball, any questions? I'm glad to see robotics moving forward. I was excited. Hearing no questions, may I get a roll call?
Mr. Ball,
Yes.
Ms. Martinez. Ms. Martinez,
Ms. Martinez?
Yes.
Yes.
thank you. Okay. Ms. Morris,
Yes.
Ms. Stevens,
Yes.
Ms. Rizzo,
Yes.
Mr. Thomaselli,
Yes.
Mr. Badalaire,
Yes.
Mr. Zupko.
Yes.
And Ms. DeFazio.
Yes. Personnel resolutions, resolve the superintendent recommends for approval the resolutions as outlined in personnel resolutions under middle and elementary schools, 7.2 through 7.4. Can I get a motion? Motion. Ms. Morris, can I get a second?
Second.
Mr. Thomaselli, any questions? Hearing none, can I get a roll call?
Mr. Ball,
Yes.
Ms. Martinez,
Yes.
Ms. Morris,
Yes.
Ms. Stevens,
Yes.
Ms. Rizzo,
Yes.
Mr. Thomaselli,
Yes.
Mr. Badalaire,
Abstain?
Mr. Zupko.
Yes.
And Ms. DeFazio.
Yes.
Carried.
8, finance resolutions, resolve the Bound Board of Education approves the resolutions as outlined in financial resolutions 8.2 to 8.5. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
Mr. Badalaire, can I get a second?
Second.
Mr. Thomaselli, any questions? Once again, thank you to the donations. That's awesome. Hearing no other questions or comments, may I get a roll call?
Mr. Ball,
Yes.
Ms. Martinez,
Yes.
Ms. Morris,
Yes.
Ms. Stevens,
Yes.
Ms. Rizzo,
Yes.
Mr. Thomaselli,
Yes.
Mr. Badalaire,
Yes.
Mr. Zupko.
Yes.
And Ms. DeFazio.
Yes. Does anyone have any other matters they'd like to bring before the board? Yes, Mr. Thomaselli.
Yeah, so today the state passed its new rules on marijuana. Have we revisited as a board do we have policies on,
He just went through them this evening.
okay, because they get a warning now. And the same thing with underage drinking.
Yes. We went through them this evening.
Okay,
So they get a warning before they get in trouble? is that-
they don't get in trouble.
Oh.
And so they can openly smoke and drink underage. And the cops, police officers cannot pull them over or stop them because of, no longer because if they smell marijuana. And if they do happen to come, you've got to read into it, they get a warning, a written warning. And the second one, they get a more verbal warning. And the third one, they get even a more verbal warning.
Yeah, I understand that may be the legal side, but from a school perspective,
Right.
our policies are gonna stay in place for now.
Okay.
Good. I grew up in the wrong generation.
Yeah, so 14-year-old kid can sit on the beach, smoke a drink.
Yeah, our policies
Nah.
stay fun.
My policy hasn't changed either. So, any other comments or? All right, is there anything from the public for
That I do
questions in
have.
general?
We have 5 comments on all. So the first one is Jackie Beers, teacher at the Annex. Hello, I'm writing to ask the board to consider allowing staff to work virtually from home if they are healthy but under quarantine due to COVID. Currently, staff that must quarantine are considered healthy but must use their sick days for the entire length of the quarantine. Classroom teachers can teach to their virtual students while a substitute teacher teaches the in-person students. Substitute teachers are called in regardless, so this is not an extra cost to the district. Support staff to continue to service all students virtually, therefore staying within compliance with special education IEPs. This would be a great benefit for all students to continue receiving instruction from their teacher, staff members. Teachers' consistency is important to all students. Thank you for your time.
Can I just ask a question concerning, I know it came up prior. If someone is in high school, I know if they don't have another teacher there, right, they would still call in a substitute. There are still kids that are virtual though, aren't they?
Yes.
So couldn't we do that for all levels then? I mean, I understand that we can't provide for one level without providing the same for the other, right? But that is a long time. That's 10 days. Is there?
It's less usually, but
All right, but still, could be 5 to 8 days of sick time if we can provide that type of accommodation across the board from kindergarten up to.
I think that's more of a legal question you should ask Bob.
Is there any legal reason why we couldn't have every teacher, if they're quarantining, and service the virtual students, that half of it, and then substitute teacher that comes in to cover whoever's here can do that?
Well, no, I mean, from a legal standpoint, I don't think there's any impediment. It's really, you have to decide what works best for you. If all the positions can do their job remotely.
Because I mean, here's the thing, the whole class is quarantined, right?
No, in this situation she's bringing up, the whole staff is not
So it's like,
quarantined.
no, what I'm saying, it's her class.
Her-
Are her students quarantined in the class?
That's not the situation
Okay,
she's
so it's
bringing
like
up.
Mr. Capalvo, where some of the kids. are
Some are
home.
kids in, some kids out.
And I know when we had first brought that up, we had said that because the high school was a different thing, we need to make sure we keep it all equitable. Is there, why can't we do that in the high school then too? Like if you're a high school teacher and you have to bring in a substitute anyway, because there are kids now coming back to school, why can't then the person who's at home still teach virtually to the kids from wherever they're at? And the person who's in school just has to worry about the kids that are in the classroom then.
Again, I think the situation is that teacher would also have to teach the kids in the classroom.
Well, no, if you're
Well, if
bringing in
there's a substitute
if
there.
you're bringing in a substitute, there's
But that's the thing though. That teacher still has to teach all the kids,
which teacher?
the one that's at home.
Yeah, but if you're saying that you're not allowing them to work from home, then who's teaching them that? Substitute. So that's what I'm saying, like,
So you're bringing a substitute either way, is what
right,
you're
if you're gonna
saying.
bring a
Not-
substitute,
At the lower level, we're not bringing in a substitute. They're all co-teaching.
all right, but there's someone there covering.
But
the people that
there's
are there.
another person to,
There's someone that can cover the people that are in school, and then the person who's on quarantine could then flip to taking care of those virtual kids and just those virtual kids.
I thought that was the point of the co-teaching, that if we had to do that, that was possible.
Again, that's what we had hoped to do, and then it became a legal question because they did away with the leave in December.
Right, but I'm saying like, if
Well, instead of making them take a sick day, let them work with the, yeah.
work
Yeah.
with the kids that are on the virtual, because we have a
But
certain
I
number.
think what like Dan is saying is that if you have kids, so the person can only teach the virtual kids then, so the virtual kids will get a full class, and then the people who go in person then are just gonna have a sub give them notes, is what he's trying to say, where the whole class isn't getting taught. Only one group is and not the other
Yeah,
group.
but I think that if the teacher is online, and the substitute would be able to access whatever.
Well, in the elementary, the co-teacher.
You would act
they're
almost as an
working
aide.
together.
No, I get what you're saying, I was just trying to.
also, what is that saying about the substitutes for hiring?
Right, like,
I mean, that's the
because I
job.
would
But
say
they-
at the
The
high
job
school.
is to teach.
But they wouldn't have computers.
We're not getting subs right now.
So who's?
But somebody has to be in those rooms.
Right, and we're paying coverages for other teachers to be in those rooms.
Is there a mechanism to allow, because then the students can just sign on to their device, sitting in a classroom and take the lesson virtually like everybody else then?
For that, yeah.
Yeah, I teach 20 kids at a
And the
time.
person, whoever's in there is just there to supervise.
Yeah, to make sure that, they're on the up and up.
That person's being paid either way, whether it's a coverage, a sub, or whatever. If
Right.
somebody's being paid to be there, why not let their real
Do
teacher?
the actual
Right,
academics.
that's what we're saying.
I kind of think that makes sense.
The only thing that I'm just playing like devil's advocate. You just need someone to, like, the sub will just need to log on. I don't know how the
No,
sub.
every kid comes with their device, so they're gonna
Oh,
come
so you're
in.
saying not even just log on to the.
No, they're just gonna go onto their Google Meet from the classroom, and then the
Right.
teacher can then just, like as if they were virtual from home.
Mhm.
But they're not home, they only have to go virtual for that one particular period, because that teacher's absent. I think we should consider it, because, that's a, to no fault of their own, they're being forced, really, to quarantine, right? Because
Sometimes it is a fault,
I'm not
every
gonna say-
situation is different. We
listen,
don't know that.
Right,
I mean, I'm on your side, but I'm just saying,
But I'm just
sometimes it
saying-
is their fault. Sometimes.
right, but we can't make that differentiation,
No,
right? We
agreed.
can't say, because I'm like,
Agreed.
my idiot brother,
Yeah,
was sick
right.
and he came over anyway, and I was like, oh, thanks. And I had to quarantine for 2 weeks, right? And now he didn't have COVID, but he was sick, and I was like, thanks, dude, now I got two weeks, right? And, and you can't differentiate between, I
Agreed.
went to, Cozumel and went out, to the disco. So, right, so we can't do that, but I do think it makes sense
But the
that,
problem is, you're not gonna be able to differentiate between the two.
I don't want to.
Okay.
I would rather err
I'd
on the
rather
side
for the
of-
kids.
Right, for the
I
kids.
mean, for the teachers, the added benefit for them, don't use your sick days, that's great. But as far as the kids getting the consistency of having a teacher, to me, that's preferable. I would rather them have that than 10 days of a sub, who we're paying anyway, to
Right,
supervise in the classroom.
with busy work.
If the teacher wants to do it, and then they're saying, I'm home and please let me teach.
Right, like if they're.
I wanna do
legitimately sick,
this.
Right, if they're legitimately sick and home because they have
Right.
COVID, that's different.
If that person's saying, I really wanna be here for my kids, I wanna teach, let's keep the education going.
I think going, piggybacking off of that, when this is all said and done, we don't, as a district, we need to look at, and again, sick days do come into play. I mean, if you're just at home, and if you have the ability to present a lesson, and without any legal ramifications of this, I mean, because you're talking about that people are gonna be wiped out of sick time, of something that it's not their, we can't differentiate if it's their fault, not their fault, because we don't know, and there's HIPAA laws against that.
Mhm.
But the thing being is that, I mean, I think it's something to at least to look into and maybe get some legal counsel on it and to take a hard look at it, but I think that, it's a compassionate look towards,
I mean, I don't know that it's a legal issue. I think that there probably is, but I know other districts are doing it. So they figured out how to go about it, so.
well, if there's,
Every district, I was
Yeah.
in this exact situation, quarantining at home, and I was denied.
I just, I think it's
Yeah,
something.
I
right.
begged, I said, please let me teach my kids.
Right, I mean,
No.
every school district is different, but I'm saying if we have, like I said, if the kids, because we have the technology, and we, from day one, it was one of the best things about this district. We have a one-to-one technology for every student, and they are expected to bring that technology to school every single day. Then if their, classroom teacher's not there, they can sign on to a Google Meet as if they are
Because,
virtual that day,
I mean,
because it doesn't
we're
matter.
obviously saying they have the capability because on virtual days, when we have
Right.
snow days, they're home doing it. So
Correct.
they obviously can do it. Yeah, that's not the issue.
Don't misunderstand what I'm telling.
Huh?
We completely have the capability of having a teacher teach from home to kids in the classroom. We have that capability. What I'm saying is, there's a lot of unintended consequences along with it. And you need to think it all the way through.
Well, I do still think that the policy that we have of, because we talked about putting in place that if people went out, and here comes this, because we did put a policy in place, if a teacher decided to go travel and they went out of the country, that would not be covered by a quarantine, because we already put a policy in place saying, okay, if you're gonna choose to make that choice, you need to, going ahead of time that you're gonna have a 2-week quarantine. That's different than, whatever, I was in a classroom and someone might have, had COVID in that
So are we
classroom, and
saying
now I have
we
to.
require a doctor's note that's saying you're quarantining under doctor's orders?
Or no.
Is that the
Or you
difference?
say- Or
Is
are you
that-
saying because the district is making you quarantine, then you can do this? If you're saying if the district is making you quarantine, you could do this, I can live with that a whole lot easier than
Yes, I agree.
somebody from the outside coming in and saying, I have to quarantine for whatever reason.
Well, I think if we're telling them that they have to quarantine, then yes, it makes total sense. And then everything else is on a case-by-case basis.
Right. That I don't have a problem
That
with.
makes sense to me.
To me, that has made sense from day one, and it again.
And that's not.
No, because again, I'm gonna go back to when that law dropped at the end of December, we lost that ability of everybody being able to use that time.
Right.
So then comes into play the arbitrary and capricious reasons of me doing this for this person, not for that person, and so on and so forth. Again, I have no problem helping anybody out.
I know in New York, as far as quarantining, if the school quarantines you, you can work from home with your kids, or you can work virtually. There is a limit to like, if you have to quarantine for outside reasons, and you're calling them and say, listen, I got exposed, I was at a family occasion or whatever, I got exposed. They are forced, they can get paid, I think it's up to, I think it's 10 days total, but if you do that, like, after that, you're on your own. So like, we can set like, okay, if that happens, we'll cover the first 5 days, but then that's it, that's like a hard limit. If it's like outside reasons. I don't know, I mean.
Well, the problem you're gonna have is a couple things. One is, to the extent you open that door, you're opening that door. And you wanna be careful not to lose your discretion. There may be situations where it's not appropriate for the staff member to work from home, that it just doesn't work. But if you open that door, then you're running that risk that everybody's gonna say they're entitled to it. The other part of that is how you treat different situations potentially could be a negotiable subject. So you gotta be careful in that. If you're gonna set a policy, the union may wanna discuss that policy, and you may
Is
have an
that something we can then
obligation.
sit down with Mr. Paxton, and we're gonna sit down and?
I've asked for a meeting with Mr. Paxton and Ms. Anjakovic on a separate issue, which you know about. So I can always broach this subject with them when I have a conversation with them during the week.
Right, because if we can get into a sidebar kind of negotiation like we did with them being able to
Right.
leave, but like definitely set limits, because you don't want someone to say, oh yeah, I was exposed, my friend might have been sick and I'm gonna
Well,
quarantine him.
again,
That kind of thing, there needs to be
Again,
a hard limit.
I am comfortable with if I'm in the unfortunate position, which
Right.
as of the last 10 days, I'm in the unfortunate position of telling people they have to stay home.
Then that should be definitely covered.
To me, that should be covered. That means
Okay.
I should have that
Well, let's start
ability
there.
to say, yeah, I'd rather start there and say,
Okay, so
They
let's
can teach
start
from
there and have
home.
the conversation for the rest.
yeah.
Does that cover Ms. Beers?
Ms. Peters, I don't think is,
Okay, so she's not,
she's not up.
would that have covered the last person who asked
Be
for?
careful about using.
I didn't add
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
but only because she
used her name.
She used her name.
Okay.
I'm just saying, has there been anyone else that has been forced to quarantine and not been able to do that? Because then we would have to make sure that if we're gonna do that, that we would restore their sick time.
You have a number of people.
Okay, so then that's something we have to look at as well.
Yeah, you have a number of people.
Okay, but I do think if your
But
school tells you
again,
you can't come to work,
Again, here's the unintended consequence. I'll just give you an example. This is just an example. Let's use the child study team, where you need to be with a kid to do what you need to do, but now you're not here.
yes and no. Listen, is it the optimal thing to do a one-on-one conversation with a student?
But here's the
No.
problem.
Some of the tests
If you're
have
not
to be there.
here, you can't, who's pulling the kid?
And some of the
Who
tests
pulls the
that they
kid
do have
to
to be
do the
face to
one-on-one?
face.
With the evaluations, a lot of them have to be one-on-one. And to Dan's point, I think, child study team guidance,
OT, PT,
yes,
speech.
there's a lot of variants here that they're not in the realm of a classroom teacher. So you have to take a look at when my school psychologist or learning consultant, that's all one-on-one. And if it's in the IEP that a child needs 3 sessions of OT a day, a week, or 2 sessions of speech, then you're getting into, I think you're opening up, you've got to be very careful of opening up that Pandora's box.
Yeah, but I still think that if you are forcing someone on the school-based support team to quarantine, you as a school district are sending them out, then their sick time should be covered,
Yes,
whether they can reach that child or not.
yes. I hear you. I'm just saying, I think that is where the differentiation was, you're saying, is that teaching a child and then reaching a child.
Right. But are there things they can do from home?
That's what I was gonna
I
say.
mean, I'm sure there's tons of paperwork, and I'm sure there's tons
Yeah.
of things that,
There's definitely.
yeah, I'm sure there's tons of things that they can
Yeah.
still
Yeah,
work.
they can be working on IEP.
They can be, right, doing the
Yeah.
IEPs that I know are arduous to begin with.
Yeah, sure.
So I mean, so they're still doing an aspect of their job from home.
Correct.
So I think that they would fall into that same
All
category.
right, I would take this,
Question. So let me see if I understand this. So we have a hybrid is the teacher goes in, she teaches or he teaches the children that are in the class, and then they're also broadcasting.
and teaching the kids that are home.
Okay, so how could a teacher teach the children?
Because they have a device, they'll sign on and.
Right, but how can, they can't teach the children in the classroom?
Yeah,
They sign on.
Those
as
children
they
would
work.
sign on as well.
So we're gonna pay for a substitute to just sit there and press a button?
That substitute's being paid for either way, though.
So we're gonna pay for a substitute to come in, but not teach?
Yeah,
Well, no, they should be assisting in the
Assisting
classroom.
in small,
Yeah.
Okay, as a
one-on-one.
parent, if I had a substitute for a child in my child's class for 10 days, and I have the real teacher on virtual, my kid's gonna stay at home and go virtual.
Yeah, but
until
it's
the
just
teacher
one
gets back
class out
in.
of 5. Or
What?
It's one.
It's only one
I mean,
period.
if it's the elementary, then I guess that's your.
If it's the elementary, they'll have their co-teacher in the classroom with them.
Right.
And the other level, then a parent could, but if it'd be just that one class for the day, out of, it'd be one period as opposed to an entire day. I still think.
I mean, at the high school
teacher-
level, a sub is just telling the kids, this is what your teacher assigned, and they're doing it anyway.
Right, so
There's not, there's not teaching at the high school level.
Yeah, so I would rather have the high school teacher or the middle school teacher teach the lesson
Well,
virtually.
and again, I think even at the high school level, if I'm sending a teacher home, that teacher can still teach from home
Correct,
if I'm sending the teacher home.
right.
So again, to me, if it's me sending them home,
Yeah,
it's
I
still
agree,
a
that's where
fair,
we start.
equitable thing. Again, but let me work this,
Okay.
let me work this out. All right, can I move on?
Yep,
All right, so our next one is from Steve Nowicki, also a teacher, 83 First Street, Milltown, New Jersey. Dear Falmouth Board of Education members, I feel the need to voice my concern about the situation here at the middle school. And in the last few weeks, I have had to do the contact tracing form. This was due to the fact that a student in 2 separate classrooms had situations with COVID-19 virus. Upon hearing that the teacher and the class of students now have to quarantine, I wonder when my time will come. We try to follow all the safety procedures in the school, and this has greatly impacted the way I teach my class. Now with the incident of students being in contact with people who have tested positive, I am no longer walking up and down the aisles. I stay in front of the class trying to help virtual students and in-class students at the same time. This is a daunting task, as sometimes I have 4 questions on GoGuardian chat and possibly 2 or 3 on Google Meet chat, and questions from students in the class. Sometimes I am not able to concentrate on the in-person and virtual students at the same time, even though we are trying to do our best with student safety, social distancing in school. We know that We cannot control what happens when they leave the building. I understand the hardship of families having their children in a virtual class environment, but I believe the teachers would be able to provide a more coherent lesson if they did not have to go between virtual and in-person students. Having students at home would be a safer environment for them and also for the faculty, administration, and support staff. Thank you for taking the time to read my letter. I know this is a difficult time for everyone.
I think, I mean, if you look nationally, they are looking from the top down, they're looking to open schools at this point. The CDC has said that schools are not, yes, there are people who are quarantining, but it's not because they got COVID while coming to work. And listen, it is an imperfect situation. I can understand anyone's concern. I think that, it does change our teaching practices. They're not optimal whether you're in the classroom or out of the classroom because it's not a normal school year. But I don't think in good conscience at this time would I ever entertain closing down. Right now, we don't have any transmission that we know of that happened because they came to work. So at this time, I think, yes, is it the safest? But it's not the best thing for the parents or the kids.
But also, didn't Phil Murphy said if something gets passed for reopening schools, like we must reopen schools if we're able to.
Right, right. We were told that if we can meet a certain set of criteria that deemed our schools be able to follow a certain set policy, we were able to open it from the very beginning. We were able to do that, provide that, and nothing has changed about that. So we have to follow it and keep going.
And I don't think that anyone would argue the statement that this is difficult and
No,
not
it's a
ideal.
horrible
It's terrible.
situation.
We totally agree that hybrid is awful and difficult.
Being
But
fully
this is where we
virtual
are,
either,
unfortunately.
so.
It's terrible. We agree.
I'm sorry that we have to go through it.
Yes, I'll be starting next week. I cannot wait.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Sure.
So in response to Mr. Nowicki's situation, which everyone is sharing, obviously, is it my understanding correct that in the middle school, they don't have two people in the room at the same time? It's only the K through
6. Yep.
Okay, so, I mean, is there anything we can do to support these teachers that are struggling, even if it's a temporary thing, to alleviate that? Because I know exactly what he's referring to about having the 4 email questions and then 3 in-person questions and managing that. And is there anything we can do to support our teachers occasionally to send a second person into these rooms or have a rotating person once in a while come as a support? Or is that just out of the realm of possibility?
I don't see that as a possibility at the moment. Unfortunately, I don't see how we can do it.
I'm sure he's doing his best.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're all doing our best. Like I said, at the onset of this, I think our teachers have performed magnificently throughout all of this, and they're doing the best they can with what we have and what's going on. I think everybody has. I mean, from the principals to the nurses to everybody. Again, I wish there was more we could do to help people right now with some of these things, but I don't have it. If I had it, I would do it.
Something I would say that someone said to me as a teacher is, I think as a board, we do not expect you to have the same year that you had last year. Our expectations are not the same as they've always been in the past. We know that you're struggling. We know that this is not easy for you, and we acknowledge that, and we thank you for doing the best that you can. All we're asking is try to do the best you can. We completely understand that it's impossible. We know. So I would say give yourself a break too. You're doing a good job.
I talked myself off of a lot of the legends this year.
Karina Dabino, middle school teacher, 23 Ducati Avenue. Over the past week or so, we've noticed a spike in in-person students either quarantining or themselves possible cases. In early January, we received notice from the district with exact numbers of staff and students who quarantined and those who have tested positive via email. The level of transparency was greatly appreciated, but has since not been happening. Being in the building the last few weeks, I have seen the number of students coming in and out due to quarantine rise, and it puts everyone on edge. It would put us at ease to at least have a district level head count to watch the rise and fall of the town numbers. It seems that our numbers are a lot higher than that of November. When we took a few weeks to quarantine the district, we never got a number that would warrant a district-wide quarantine, but if we had the email update, we then could keep track of when it's approaching that time. I asked to bring back the weekly email update so we can stay well-informed, parents and staff.
Do they get weekly? Can we do that?
I've been doing the letters. Again, it's catch-22 for me because I was doing the numbers, and if you recall, that wasn't good enough because they wanted the actual building and who and all that stuff. So I went to the letter, and every time there's an issue, I send out the letter now. So I'm sending out individual letters versus the weekly. So I'm sending out the letters now. So again, I'm in the catch-22 of the first thing wasn't good enough, so I switched to the second thing, and now the second thing's not good enough. So
Can we have a combination of those two, like at the end of the week, at town? I mean, I don't know if it really matters.
I think the issue is they want all this information that we can't give them, and they still expect us to give, because like, I know people, like, I bet people are like, oh, where did this happen, or who, like.
Yeah, there's HIPAA laws that prevent us from
And again,
releasing certain information, that I know. You
again,
can't say who had it, or there's no names attached to it.
Or classroom, or anything.
and again, we're trying to compare numbers from November to
Yeah,
now
that's-
and things like that, which aren't applicable right now.
And the guidelines have changed.
Yeah.
Right.
So again, it's just not comparing apples to apples at the moment. All right, next question. Yes, no?
Yeah.
Alexandria Darwin, another teacher, 114 Hartman Corner Road, Washington, New Jersey. Good evening to all the Board of Education members. My students have always meant the world to me, and they will always continue to. Their well-being, their mental health, and overall happiness. To me, the social and emotional well-being is always tenement with their knowledge of reading and writing. There is nothing more that I wish than for the school to return to normal. What I would give to be lugging 100 student composition books home to read their daily journal writing, or circling around the room watching my students read, sit close together in small group within the classroom. I would be elated when we are able to safely do those activities again. However, I can honestly say I personally am mentally exhausted from worrying about bringing COVID home to my own child. I know we are all doing the absolute best we can, and it surely must not be an easy decision to make, but I ask that the district consider virtual learning, even if it's for a short time until positive COVID cases, quarantining due to possible exposures at the middle school subside. Again, thank you for all of your extensive efforts and devotion during this time, especially Alex Darwin.
So let me ask you, the procedures that we have in place is when we get notification of whoever it is, whether it's an adult or a child, then you go about and where was that child and where were they?
We do all the contact tracing.
Right, so, I mean, listen, I get being nervous, but like I said, we have that procedure in place, and as long as we're following procedures, and that's what the CDC is telling us that we should be doing, I once again, I'm sorry that they feel that way.
Yeah, and again, I think right now, the problem that people are seeing is there have been several group exposures. So large group exposures drive your numbers up very quickly. It doesn't mean that everybody has COVID. It means you have high quarantine numbers because they were exposed in a group. Nothing you can do about it.
You know, just my 2 cents, what I'm hearing also is a lot of, and I've always said this even when I was on the board last time, there's facts versus fear. And a lot of this is also teacher burnout.
Yeah, it's
You
horrible.
know, my question is, any professional development days that are upcoming, just to kick it around, just a suggestion, is there anything that can be done? And it doesn't have to be done now, but maybe thinking in the future for, just some de-stressing, sort of mental health activities for the teaching staff, just to get them in a better place. Because, I'm not saying therapy or anything like that, I'm just saying just to, instead of, you know, going on an academic stance, just to kind of take a step back and I think collectively, they're doing such an incredible job, but also they're human. And I think what we're seeing is we're seeing people just, you know, people are breaking down. And I think we have a responsibility to a point, within reason, to maybe kind of,
Alleviate some of that.
put something in place, or at least, if not, have some resources or strategies available to them. That's just just to think about that, because, I mean, you know, it is, and it's not just staff, it's administration. And
Right, it's everyone.
it's the counselors, it's everyone. I mean, we're all going through this together, but, you know, we gotta give ourselves a break too. I mean, you know, just to kind of take a step back. And I don't know, Dr. Gallagher, if that's something that the administration, maybe even a 5-minute presentation slide when they're doing it's something, I don't know.
We've done extensive mental health work with our staff. We don't have any more PDDs left. We do have a couple more things left to do at my time, and we're working a few things out that are going to be staff-based, so they will be coming out shortly. But again, you know, we're into the depths of winter.
I know, and this is the
everything,
worst
so,
possible,
yeah.
you know.
Okay, next.
The next one is from Sue Del Ponte from the high school. Please let Mr. Thomas Selden know that Mrs. Del Ponte is still attending all Board of Education meetings, mainly virtual at this time. She apologizes that there is nobody in the audience, but she is here online.
Good for you, Ms. Del Conte.
To the surprise of no one.
Lauren Paxton. Thank you for discussing allowing the quarantine teachers to teach virtually and not burn their personal days. It is not fair not fair to a teacher when they have to quarantine because the parent sends a child into school with symptoms. These teachers were able to teach from home when we were virtual. Please include every person and not just the classroom teacher.
Yeah, no, it would have to be across
To
the
be
board.
discussed.
If we're gonna force someone to quarantine because someone came to school sick and we're telling them they have to quarantine, it's only right that we should cover their sick days.
Okay. The next one is from Mr. Paxson. The law says the district can allow people to work virtually. Many districts allow people to work from home. When the district makes them quarantine, I definitely will have a conversation regarding this matter with my meeting with Dr. Gallagher. And the last one is from, I'm assuming it's Kelly Hellman, but I think she misspelled her last name. Smalley teacher. I would like to thank the board for their supporting words tonight. I'm excited to be back in the classroom and have most of my roster back in person. I can echo Mr. Nowicki in the sense that I cannot run my class the same way, especially after this weekend. I feel the need to voice my concern over busing. I have 2 students who take a district bus. One has to quarantine, the other one is allowed back in the classroom. While I appreciate the efforts of the nurses for contact tracing, it's unsettling because the size of the bus and ventilation on the bus. While I understand we have no control over privately contracted buses, there are also in the same situation. While some students have to quarantine based on proximity on a bus and some are allowed back into school. Thank you for your time and stay healthy. Again, contact tracing. There's rules to that. So many feet, so many minutes of contact.
Listen, I don't think anyone's not on edge when they are forced to be in a large group of people that you can't guarantee are following the rules like you are. It's since September, it will be till this is gone. I mean, it's just always gonna be that way, but, you know, like I said, there's policies and procedures in place, and that's what we have to continue to follow.
And it is exhausting.
Yeah, I'm sure it is.
You know, being on the phone with Taryn for endless hours on the weekend, and she's on the phone for endless hours with nurses and
Right, trying to
principals.
get in touch with people and get information. It's daunting, it really is.
And then you're trying to get in touch with parents. Sometimes they pick up the phone, sometimes they don't pick up the phone, and so on and so forth. And then you're also relying on, you're going through a list of questions and you're relying on the answers that you're getting.
Right,
So,
right.
it's not an easy proposition at all.
All right, no more questions, we're good?
We are good.
All right, can I get,
We have to go into
Yeah,
executive session
for HIB?
for HIB. So 1, 3, and 9, Bob, or just 1 and 3?
Oh, I thought it was.
So we were just approving.
No. Yeah,
If
we're
you
just.
guys don't have any
we're just approving.
questions,
Yeah, we don't have any questions.
We've already seen these.
no questions,
You've
we're
seen
good. We'll
them
skip
already.
executive session.
All right.
All right, you're up to 13.1,
All right. hold
which
on.
is only 13.2.
All right, resolve the Bound Board of Education, the approval of the resolutions as outlined in the approval of the HIB cases under middle and elementary school, 12.2. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
Mr. Thomaselli, can I get a second?
Second.
Mr. Zupko? There's
You
no
mean 13,
questions?
right?
Yeah,
Oh,
13.2.
13.2?
Yeah. Okay, just making sure we're in there, yeah.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It's been a long day. Can I get a roll call?
Mr. Ball,
Yes.
Mrs. Martinez,
Yes.
Ms. Morris,
Yes.
Ms. Stevens,
Yes.
Ms. Romano,
Yes.
Mr. Thomaselli.
Yes.
Mr. Valera,
Abstain.
Mr. Zucco,
Yes.
and Mrs. Fazio.
Yes. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Oh, look at that, everyone's yelling at that one. Mr. Val first and Mr. Valera second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, have a great 2 weeks.
Just so you know, those are the S&T